Okay, so that's 2 workshops down. Hopefully you're now starting to feel a little bit more comfortable with the format. Having presented through your first presentation, the practice one, you get a bit of a vibe. Having seen some stuff on the walls from past students, starting to realise that really you can take the presentations in any way you want. You can have, PowerPoint, you can have role play, you can do something interactive with the audiences like quizzes. You might have prizes. Remember who's assessing you. Um, and you might use videos, or you can do anything you want. All right, all you're really trying to do is demonstrate your understanding of the reading, and the key ideas in that reading, and how you apply them to your life, all right, or the world that you live in. Okay, so we think about that reading from last night, Aldridge and Martinez, that I've given you. Many are called. Essentially, what we're trying to get you guys to try and make sense of is, if you had to explain the outcomes of entrepreneurial behavior in society, if you had to try and look at anything, and sort of say, okay, right, let me look at something that I think is happening, something that's happened, succeeded, has failed, whatever the outcome is, can I actually make sense of that outcome by referring to the process, the human capital, the financial capital, and the social capital of the entrepreneur and or the entrepreneurial team that was actually involved? And can I also infer anything from thinking about the nature of the context? So were they attempting to do something in an established industry? Were they attempting to do something in an emerging industry? And how might that play out as far as their ability to be an innovator and a reproducer? Okay, so that's the next challenge that you've got. You can still drag through the reproducer, innovator ideas as you're going through, but now I want you to layer on the top of that the notion that now we're thinking about, not only were they an innovator or a reproducer, but now we're starting to think about, well, who did they know for their social capital, and how might that have helped them? What did they know as far as their human capital, and what access to resources that were valuable to their efforts did they have or didn't have? In the case of somebody where you're saying, well, look, if this thing had failed. Now, you might be talking about a local restaurant, you might be talking about a brother and sister who's attempted to do something, you could be talking about anybody. Now, obviously, the closer they are to you, the easier it might be for you to explain, because you might actually know them. You might be able to go back and actually ask somebody. You might be able to do a quick bit of research to actually say, hey, when you did this, do you think you knew enough people? Do you think you knew enough about the industry? Do you think the industry was not really mature enough, or do you think it was too mature and there was too much competition? All right, so that's your challenge there. The next thing that you've got to jump onto, which the email that comes out with this will remind you, is the group sense making. So I know that's mostly still a little bit unclear for some of you. Just trust the process. You can look back at the unit outline and see how it's described in there. I'll give you another short run through it here. Just trust the process. Just let yourself get into it, and I'm sure you'll find it'll actually take care of it. It's actually not as complicated as it may seem. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to, where's my fingers going? You need to read the statement. All right, so you're going to get situation statement again emailed out to you. Okay, read through the statement and think about the feelings. What feelings do you recognize yourself having? All right, just think about the feelings. All right, does it make you happy, sad, frustrated, annoyed, relieved? Well, what are you feeling? All right. Once you recognize what you're feeling, go to phase 1 on Milo and just pop in your feelings. When I read through the statement, I feel, that's it. All right? So once you've done phase 1, and once enough people have come on and done it as well, so, what I'm hoping is that enough of you will jump in the next couple of days and get phase 1 knocked over, because then it means that everyone else can get on and do it at their own speed. So once you've put your phase 1 stuff up, then you can come back and you can say, okay, if I think about what it was I said in phase 1, if I was to compare and contrast what it was I said with what everyone else in the class is saying, what sense do I make out of this? What does it mean? All right? From my perspective, what does it actually mean that there are these differences or similarities in what I felt and what other people felt? All right? So that's phase 2. Phase 3 is to take the situation statement and give it to somebody else. So you can email it through to someone, ask them to read it if they're in another country, another place, or you can just physically give them the piece of paper if they're, sharing a flat with you or living in the same house or workspace with you. Get them to read through it and ask them, what do they think it means? What do they think the lecturer is trying to suggest here? What do they think it means? Now, in the phase 2, you should have, in your conclusion, told me what you think it means, what sense you're making of it. Is your sense you're making of it informed in any way by what the external person thinks when they read the statement? Are they shifting the way you think about what sense you think it made, or are they actually validating what sense you're actually making? All right, so you're just looking for that external perspective, someone who has nothing to do with the class, and just seeing to what extent they actually help you to even clarify even more the sense that you're making from this process. And the last step of the process is phase 4. And all you need to do here is ask yourself this question. From when you started the process at phase 1 and on your way through phase 2 and then phase 3, now in phase 4, do you think that your attitudes in relation to that statement at the beginning have changed as a result of you going through these 4 steps? Is it possible that your beliefs or even your values have changed? Okay, so that's the challenge that's sitting there in front of you. Now, maybe they haven't, in which case it's just they haven't changed, and that's it. Right? One sentence, and that's phase 4. But maybe they have, and if they have, can you explain how you think they have changed? Okay. Now, the other thing that your group needs to be working on over the next 2 weeks is trying to come up with some sort of basic concepts and basic way of thinking about what it actually is that you guys think you might like to run your restaurant, night, dinner, maybe even breakfast. I'm not sure about breakfast, but certainly dinner or evening meal through. All right, and I'll provide you with some more information in the next few days in relation to some of the more parameters about the do's and the don'ts. But I want you to sort of start that conversation. Think about what it actually is in your group as far as your resource profile. Who do you know? What do you know? What resources can you gain access to? You need to audit your groups to make sure you fully understand what capacity you have in the group to naturally and easily be entrepreneurial. Okay. We've also got another, let me find it here. I'm going to send this out to you. You should get another email. There's a breakfast on, which I think we talked about last night. There's a breakfast on this Friday, and I'll send this out in another email. But if you're looking for a seat at the table, there's 8 left. There were 10, there's 8 left. You need to email me straight away. Well, no, sorry, not email me. Email Vanessa straight away. So, look, I hope everything's fitting in well. If you find you're not on Milo with your group's discussion area, in the discussion area, email and let me know. It may be that as you've come in and you're rolled in, it hasn't worked out for us or whatever. So just let me know that. Otherwise, hopefully we've taken another step forward as far as you being a bit more comfortable with what it is we're doing. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all in week 4. So we have no class next week, week 4, to actually see what you guys have got to present in relation to the Aldridge and Martinez. Cheers, guys. Good luck.